get more on this now with Graham Ong-Webb in Singapore. He's an adjunct fellow at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. Good to have you with us, Graham. This seems to be a significant development in terms of military ties between China and the US. We know that tensions in other aspects of their relationship have ratcheted up in recent months. How significant is this?
It is a very significant development. Communication, dialogue, talking is always a good thing. And I think this has been a long time coming for the right people to talk to each other. And in this case, Secretary Austin and Minister Dong having a conversation at the sidelines of a very important annual security conference affair that is the biggest show in town in Asia Pacific, to set a positive tone right at the beginning of this annual Shangrila Dialogue is a very good thing. Never mind the fact that there are significant points of differences, but I think the conversation is an important investment in trying to work out the kinks and the differences between both sides.
Yes, because we know China is currently embroiled in a number of territorial disputes with a lot of the countries that are attending this meeting, for example, with Indonesia, Vietnam, with the Philippines and others in the region. The US has sided with those countries who are disputing with China right now over those territorial claims. How does that square with the US and China pledging to resume military-to-military contact? Will that possibly help the situation in that region?
Well, I think in the medium term, I think it will contribute to the aspirations for peace dividend across Southeast Asia and at least in the wider Asia Pacific. I mean, these claims have been long-standing amongst the claimant states. But I think all of them can agree. One thing that they can agree on is the need to have a stable enough situation where trade and commerce, supply chains can do their thing, when there's certainty in the business environment, particularly at a time when economies are recovering from the shadow of the pandemic. But so I think in the medium term this is a good thing. But I think in the long term, of course, those claims have to be resolved in some shape or form, and that's a conversation for another day. But I think over the next few years, having some amount of stability and certainty, transparency and confidence are the kind of things that all parties in this region are striving for. And I think this is what we're going to see over the course of the next few days, a testament or a commitment towards that, and having as much communication as possible, and hearing each other and working out differences. It's hard work, but I think that's a necessary investment.
But the meeting between the US and Chinese defense chiefs doesn't change the fact that the US essentially still sees China as its biggest geopolitical threat, its biggest superpower rival, so to speak. Do you believe that going forward, Washington will continue to try to rein in the growing Chinese dominance in terms of security, but also trade and other aspects? Well,
yeah, I am quite skeptical on this note. So I mean, we need to see what's going to happen around the corner, particularly with the upcoming US elections. But I think looking at the current vector, there's a fair bit of concern that we're going to see this continuing effort to contain China, not just for containment's sake, because I think China, at least in the eyes of Western countries and particularly the United States, remains an enigma of sorts. I mean, there are questions about China's strategic intentions. There's a lack of transparency in China's defense spending and the kinds of capabilities that it seems to be acquiring for what purpose. And that's not really giving assurance to parties all around, particularly the US, which is a longtime partner of the Asia Pacific and a de facto Asia Pacific nation by virtue of that. All I can say right now, I think, is that we need to keep the conversations going. Shangrila Dialogue is a necessary vehicle for that. It's a barometer of US-China relations, and I'm just crossing my fingers that over the next few days, at least some positive headway can be had from the discussions that we're going to see.
Yes, we'll see what comes out of the Shangrila Dialogue. For now, Graham, Ong-Webb, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.